You guys, Game of Thrones came back.
It did.
And it's time for us
to start doing Game of Thrones recap.
Yeah! That's right. Dun 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 dun. That's fantastic.
Yeah, maybe next week.
All right, episode
This is the only time we're relevant, guys.
Season 7. We have so much time. Fantastic.
All right, let's really get into it, you guys.
Deep, just a deep, sweaty dive into what is really kind of whatever episode.
We got to see all of the characters, and we're reminded that they still exist.
That's right. It was like, welcome back to Game of Thrones. Previously on Game of Thrones, everyone started traveling somewhere. Now on Game of Thrones, everyone's gotten where they were traveling to.
They have this. They have this thing where they do that. Like, I mean, I feel like that's the first episode of every season is it's a check-in episode. Yeah. Like, we're gonna get to totally every single place on the map in the beginning, so that you know, yes, they're all still alive.
Right.
Yes, we're gonna see things with them. Yep. And then next episode, fewer characters
or different revelations. Littlefinger, he hasn't gone anywhere.
No, he hasn't.
He hasn't. He's in the same place. Remember at the end when he arrived? He stayed put.
My accents and I are still here.
Well, I'm going to tell you about
so just a quick... I mean, you know what? Okay, so compared to the other version of that, which is you pick up where season 6 ended and everyone's just kind of in transit places.
I really want to know.
So boring.
I really want to know what Daenerys was doing on the boat.
Yeah,
like what were they doing on the boats?
How did she make such an awesome dragon-themed costume?
Well, and this I have to say though that at least because we're talking about this being a check-in episode, like 2 seasons ago when we were still in like book territory, there was like. I forget which season it was, but it was like a 4-episode arc that was like the check-in, everyone's travel. Like the first 4 episodes of one of the seasons just felt like people on their way. At least now that we're getting into this schlocky post-book territory where clearly they were going off the rails. At least like Daenerys spent the first episode like arriving at King's Landing or wherever she is. Not King's Landing.
They're now Dragonstone. Yeah, they're now basically. Now that they are no longer shackled to the book series A Song of Ice and Fire, they can look at George R.R. Martin and say, you're going to die soon. You're not going to finish these books. We're going to go ahead and just forge our own way.
It's amazing. You can really feel
better way.
Yes, you can really feel the quality of the language and the and just the beat by beat. Just really take a dive. I'm not saying I'm not enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. I'm taking it for what it is. As we were talking about before with Blade Runner, I'm enjoying it contextually. But it is funny because all of the like clever like witty bits of dialogue and interesting scenes or character introductions or things that like subvert expectations all gone, and instead now it's
had one episode.
No, this started happening at the end of
this has been going on for a little bit.
Yeah, this started happening at the end of last season.
Do you remember the Sand Snake plot line?
Yeah, it's
that
like
was an invention.
It's becoming Westworld at this point, not in the craziness, but I mean it's just like literally it's just like okay, this has just become a television show and it's delivering to you exactly what you're expecting to happen.
I will say the Sand Snake plotline in the shows was god awful, but way better than it was in the books. Because in the books, it takes up even more space and time, and it is even less useful. That's how I felt about it. Whatever.
Yeah, that's wrong. But
fair enough. Either way, I didn't hear a single word from Tyrion. Pissed. Come on, dude. You gotta, if you're gonna have him in the show, you have to have him say something.
That sure was a whole lot of her arriving at the.
I don't mind her walking into the castle.
Fine, I guess.
Well, it is literally the thing she has been trying to do since episode 1 of this series.
Yes, that's true.
Like you're allowed to take some time for that.
Here though is what's sort of. But here's what bummed me out about last season, and what I'm realizing. I haven't read most of the books. I read like the first half of the second book, and that's about it up to that point. But here's what is just bumming me out about Game of Thrones in general and George R.R. Martin in general is I think the whole series, I was hoping it would have genuinely unexpected turns and developments to bring you to genuinely unexpected places, but realizing that his broad plan for the whole thing is really just a standard Hollywood 3-act movie. And by a 3-act movie, I mean the kind of structure I don't particularly like. A 3-act structure introduces everybody in the first act, in the first 30 minutes, sets up the situation. It's speed. You know, the first act is they are on the bus, and they're on the bus, and the bus is driving, and
Lannister always repays his debts.
Exactly. Yeah. And now, but once the first act is set up, usually,
I thought you'd be colder.
Usually, you can. The problem with the 3-act structure is that usually, the way most of it is written, you can predict everything that is going to happen for the rest of the movie based on just the first act. And good movies, like I don't know, like somehow. Quentin Tarantino or something. You know, doesn't really whatever. Usually, you can definitely not predict from the first act, from the first beats, where it's going to go. There'll be unexpected turns and all that. Whereas, really, take the first season of Game of Thrones as the first act. Is there anything that's happened so far of consequence in terms of where it's going that you couldn't predict based on just the first season? Meaningful.
Well, here's the thing: is like I think that the path has been more circuitous than that necessarily.
Some minor characters died.
But that's what I'm saying. But that's kind of what my point is, like that seeing lots of these bigger characters fall away. While in retrospect, we now look back at, Rob and his mom and all these people as being less significant characters. Now, they were a big part of what felt like the central thrust and the central trajectory of the story.
Right.
They did the story, like at that point, like Rob and his mom were not, peripheral characters.
They were the main fucking characters.
Jon Snow was the peripheral character at that point. So in that sense, like up to a certain point, they've done and this is kind of what I'm talking about now, where it's like delivering things that are satisfying, but delivering things in an unexpected way. Like the one of the best examples being the wonderful setup between the fight between Half Thor and that guy.
Yeah.
It's just like. You're setting up an expectation for a given narrative situation to play out and then directly subverting that expectation to only thrust us deeper into a kind of uncertainty and raise the stakes in a way so that, like, holy shit, how is Tyrion going to get out of this? Because we can see where the trajectory is going. Oh, a champion steps forward who's he formerly had issues with, and they're just going to fight it out against the mountain. We're all going to go, all right, cool. And then completely throwing a wrench in the gears.
That was peak Game of Thrones.
That was peak Game of Thrones.
That 3 episodes was fucking
and that is hardcore book territory.
That's right. That is directly from the pages of the book.
That is the tone. And that's happening on a macro level, like with Ned Stark dying and all of that. It's happening on a micro level, and even it's happening scene by scene. In that how you enter into a given scene or how you enter into a given character is often twisted or subverted in some clever way that makes you go, oh, that's cool. And it all feels gone now. And instead, it's a lot like most other TV dramas, which is a lot of characters walking around and saying and doing the things you would expect them to do. Even taking the opening of this episode, spoilers ahead, everybody, where we see that Arya kill all of the Freys. That it has some potential there, but you said it. You kind of know exactly what's going to happen within the first few seconds in that scene,
right?
And just another side point: the language of it was so below the language of the previous season. So he's like, literally, it was like draft one kind of stuff where he's like, yes, I invited you all in here, and then you invited some people over, and you killed a mother of 5, and you stabbed a pregnant woman, and you did so. And then it was just like I'm like.
I thought Arya was cleverer than that.
Yes, exactly. Even the phrase
in previous seasons, she was.
Yes, and even the phrase "mother of 5" is a utterly contemporary syntax. It's like anything that it feels wrong and it feels weird and it feels like we're watching like The Tudors on Showtime or something right now instead of Game of Thrones. And it's like everything has been lowered significantly. And again, not saying I'm not enjoying it. It's fine. It is what it is. But I have to now view it through this lens of this is not a show. Like if an episode like this or characters like this had played out like this in a previous season, it would have been disappointing because I'm expecting to be twisted. I'm expecting that if I'm being led in a direction, it's only so that I can get fucked with and turned around, and only something more satisfying will happen. And now I pretty much just expect that whatever it is I'm expecting to happen is going to happen, and I bet it will. That's it.
And I think a lot of this is telegraphed by previous seasons, wherein the things that were invented by the showrunners and were not a part of the book were always consistently the weakest things going on. Like, I don't know, how do we get Jon Snow to get in a fight this season? Well, there could be a rape camp up north. Cool, yeah, let's go do that.
Rape camp.
Yeah.
This idea's getting a lot of traction.
They definitely had to purge some parts of the book, obviously for a lot of different reasons. But like, there's some significant pieces of the book that just aren't involved in the season now,
like
which
the whole,
make like massive changes to the cast.
Well, and that's why I'm really interested, honestly, in how the end of these books will differ drastically from the show. There are entire swaths and forces of armies that do not exist in the show. Yeah. There are entire side characters that have great bearing on like the way the plot will play out they do not exist in the show.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of stuff going on that I think is kind of interesting, and I'm really hoping that we're going to hit that kind of Storm of Swords territory where we hit with, I guess, was it season 3 and 4, where things are going to end up moving so fast that maybe we'll forget that like it's not quite working out the way we would hope. Like that it'll start just ramping up again. It's like, all right, cool, we're on a roller coaster now.
I remember talking a couple of years ago with some people about like, oh, what's going to outpace the books pretty soon, blah blah blah. And they were talking about, well, what's going to happen? Is George R. R. Martin, is he going to have, like, I have it figured out sufficiently, and this is what I was thinking at the time, that he's going to tell them, kind of where things are headed, and it'll sync up. And then someone at that point had said to me, or, they'll just do their own show version, and George R. R. Martin will intentionally go off and just write a completely different version in the books that's wildly different just for the sake of, surprising the audience. And I remember thinking at the time, like, so that seems improbable to me, that would be the way it would go. But now, as I'm watching it, I'm just like, this appears to be playing out in such an utterly banal way. And now that the books have been left in the dust, he's in no hurry. So it would not surprise me if he, in fact, with the books, just goes on a complete variation and goes out into some wild direction that has nothing to do with the show.
In the book version, Daenerys will be stabbed by Varys there. He'll have actually betrayed her, the bald eunuch guy. And she won't ever make it to Dragonstone, and whole new shit will happen. Who controls the dragons now?
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'd be more interested in that.
Yeah.
There are plenty of people, there are even people in places interacting with other characters in the show that haven't met yet, and aren't even on a trajectory to meet yet in the book. So you're right. There is a place and a possibility in which like the series and the books. It sounds stupid, but they have wildly different.
I think they'll ultimately get to the same place, but on different.
I'm with
paths.
Daniel on this one.
Like that, and that's the thing. It's like just because
which hurts
like
to say
the way it is, the way that it's set up in the books right now, there is just a lot more to cover. There's a lot more to do, and also like once again, like Jaime never went to Dorne in the in the books. Never happened. Was not a thing. The Sand Snakes, way cooler in the books.
Yeah, they did not suck.
They did not suck in the way they did. But there's a fucking, spoilers for the books. Lady Stoneheart's a goddamn thing in the books, and like that shit would have been awesome to see on TV. Yeah.
But that seems a no-brainer, man. I guess
I remember actually. Not only is Lady Stoneheart, which is again spoiler alerts,
zombie Catelyn,
it's zombie Catherine Stark, come back, and not only is she alive, but she's pissed, and she hangs Brienne as like the last time you check in.
The last time you check in with Brienne. So there's two things here, and actually it's really interesting.
There we go.
It's so the last time you check in with Brienne, like from her own point of view, it's her and Pod in a noose, like each in a noose.
That's right.
She has the Lannister sword with her, and the Oathkeeper or whatever, and I guess Lady Stoneheart has taken over the guys who the Hound is hanging out with right now in the show.
Yeah, she's with
and used them to essentially start
No, what his name is?
Beric Dondarrion.
Dondarrion.
Yeah. And is using them to raid Lannister lands and fuck up any Lannister they see. Period. Anyone if Ed Sheeran had seen Lady Stoneheart, he'd be fucking dead.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. Like they literally
not just dead on the inside as he is,
as he is currently.
Yes.
But yeah, no, and so she gets caught by by Lady Stoneheart. And she's told, you can either, betray your Jaime or whatever, or we hang all of you. And then, it's said that she screams out one word, and then it's, gone. Next chapter. Right. But then, later on, she meets up with Jaime again, and it's heavily implied that she is taking him to Lady Stoneheart to be dead.
Good times.
So Jaime at this point has broken it off with Cersei entirely, and they're not hanging out anymore. It's not a thing.
Well,
we're in completely different spaces here.
Yeah, there's I thought my understanding was when they first approached, and this could just be Hollywood marketing bullshit, but when they first approached George R.R. Martin to see if they would make a Game of Thrones TV show, the showrunners were talking to him about how much they read the books and what they love about it and all this sort of stuff, and he basically asked them two things. He said, do you understand what the story is about, who the main characters are and why they're doing what they're doing, and the second thing is what's the ending. And that they not only were able to pick up on all the little hints and stuff at the massive clues that
it was
the version I heard.
It wasn't the ending. It was who's Jon Snow's mother.
Is that what the question was?
Well, there you go. Everyone by that point already knew it anyway.
Right. So. Yeah, we'll see.
Who fucking cares? It's a great TV show. Keep fucking watching.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say
we'll see more shit happening.
There was a severe lack of titties in this episode.
Not enough,
right? I mean,
were there any titties?
HBO. Yeah, it's HBO. There should have been there should have been a scene with tits. I don't understand.
Opening salvo boobs for the rest of the.
What's the point?
Season.
What's the point of having a show on HBO if you're not going to just have unnecessary amounts of?
I don't know.
The B in HBO stands for boobies.
Yeah.
Yes.
Holy boobies! Oh. All right. I think that's a good way to wrap this up.
Yeah. What else happened? The Hound.
Yeah, the Hound had his whole moment. Where we're he's a good guy now. He cares about dead people.
That castle thing that she goes into at the end. That I guess that's where Stannis was before.
Yeah,
but we never saw it in its entirety. We just saw the one tiny room.
Yeah, the one tiny room that had the board on it.
The last time we saw it was when they had small budget.
That's
right. And now, because it was literally the last time we saw it was season 2, right? That was when Stannis was preparing to go out and fuck Renly's shit up and fuck everyone else up.
Game of Thrones, the previous seasons of it are in for, and I would support the idea of doing a special edition style version, updating the CGI,
just putting Anakin Skywalker, putting Hayden Christensen in.
Exactly.
He's just in every scene a ghost.
Yeah. Just have George Lucas spearhead that process there, and then just to retrofit the previous seasons to bring them up to the look and the production level of the later seasons.
Oh, just to bring things back to Star Wars for a second, another strong recommendation for everyone is to watch. Red Letter Media put out a video this morning. It's about a half hour long, and it's them just theorizing for a half hour about what the plot and scenes beat by beat of the new Han Solo movie is gonna be. And it's just great because it's Mike and Rich Evans and they're just talking for a half hour about God, what are some of the golden bits are and then he's gonna be thrown into prison where he's gonna meet Chewie, but someone's gonna try and put Chewie in shackles and he's I don't want to put the handcuffs on, and then he's gonna encounter the bat thing from the inside of the thing and he's gonna be Mylocks, oh no, and it's also just
someone will explain to him what Mylocks are.
Exactly there, so he knows what they
are.
So
now he knows what they are in the future.
Yes, exactly, and it just goes on just setting everything up, and and just the hilarious bit is and of course he's gonna be orphaned by 2 parents, and then the 2 parents of course were actually members of the Rebel Alliance, and they're gonna go off on a mission and get killed, and then so when he grows up he's gonna be man, fighting for a cause is a good way to get dead. You should fight for yourself. It's just all of these things.
And he's gonna have a mentor character when they're flying around in some area and they're gonna be fly casual, Han, fly casual.
Yeah. And this is not the Lord and Miller version we would have seen. This is Lawrence Kasdan just taking it all over.
But it's just all and it's just amazing to cringe through the whole video because it's hilarious. But it's just it's just they've perfectly captured the tone of Force Awakens and Rogue One in just that everything is essentially a really clunky setup for things that minor details.
Right. I mean,
in the
entire
films.
plot is how he gets the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah. Oh, and they were talking about that, the trajectory of it, of just being like, and so of course we're gonna meet Jabba and how he's gonna owe him money.
That's right.
And then, but the very same mission that indebts him is gonna be the same mission on which he makes a bet with Lando that gets him the Millennium Falcon, and like all of this.
And the third act is going to resolve
Lando?
itself.
Donald Glover.
Childish
Donald Glover.
And the third act will resolve itself with the Kessel Run.
Yes.
Obviously.
Yes.
Where else could it
in
go?
25 parsecs?
But 12 parsecs.
12 parsecs,
But the other thing was theorized. It was great. It's like, but they're going to finally explain that because he's going to fly the Millennium Falcon so close to a black hole that it compresses the distance in space time, so he actually makes the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs. Or whatever. Anyway, strong recommend. Red Letter Media. It's it was posted today.
I saw a photo. Ron Howard posted a photo of young Chewie. And
right. So it's like a silhouette. You can't really see much.
And I was kind of confused because we've seen young Chewie already, at the end of episode 3.
Yeah.
And he looks exactly like normal Chewie.
Yeah.
And like this young Han Solo Chewie is like young teenage
with
Chewie.
A mohawk.
He's got pink tips. He's
cool
got a problem
earrings.
with authority.
Oh, we'll need another special edition of the prequels to make this Chewie match the Han Solo prequel movie Chewie.
Yeah.
So that episode 3.
And there won't be any weapons left over, and then Han will find one, and it's the crossbow. He's like, "Here, Chewie, try this one out." And he'll take it.
Ooh, that looks cool.
Yeah.
Well,
I won't try that one for another 30 years.
He's gonna meet Greedo.
Of course.
They'll bump shoulders with Greedo, and they won't like each other.
God. By the way, one of my favorite was like they're like, and then somehow he's gonna end up on Tatooine, and you're gonna see a little boy running by, and then two people are gonna be like, "Come on, Luke," and he's gonna like look at him, and you're gonna hear a little bit of Luke's theme, and then someone's like, bah, bah, and then someone will like bump into Han Solo, like, "Oh, excuse me, out of my way," and then they'll just continue.
The person who bumps into him is gonna be the guys from the bar that get their arm cut off.
Yes, exactly. Except they showed up in.
They were in Rogue One.
That's right. They were in Rogue One.
No, they're very well traveled. They're very well traveled.
Literally bump into
I forgot.
someone.
Were those same ass? I forget most of Rogue
Yes,
One.
yes, those same assholes were in Rogue One.
Yeah, there's literally a scene where like they
Buttface and
bump
his friend
into
or whatever.
our main characters.
Watch where you're going.
Boy.
My friend took that as an insult.
Well, at least we can be, I hope, confident that this film will not lead directly to the cantina where then like Chewie goes and talks to Obi-Wan.
Holy shit, can you imagine if it ends with the beginning? That's exactly
with a CGI Alec Guinness and a CGI youngified what's his head?
Mark Hamill. And a young Han Solo.
But you know that idea has been tossed around.
Oh, God, of course.
Yeah.
Turns out he got the Millennium Falcon like literally days
like a week before.
He ran the Kessel Run and won that bet days before that.
Yeah,
that actually would make sense if all the details Han told about his backstory were lies. That would actually fit with the character. Why not?
Yeah, incidentally, that's true. That's true. Like it would be. Wouldn't it be crazy? Like that would be almost a cooler backstory. It's like his name isn't even Han Solo. That's someone else's name, and he just assumed his identity, and he's just some rogue guy. That would be cooler, right?
He never once has flown that ship.
Yep. Oh, there's another great one, which I thought is like the opening will another theoretical. The opening will be him, but he'll be on his parents' freighter ship, and they're just and then they're gonna be pulled over by the Empire, and they're gonna find out that he's gonna find out that his parents are smuggling stuff, but under the floorboards, exactly like they hide in the smuggling chambers. Anyway.
Yeah, and he's gonna run into the gangs from episode 7.
Yes,
of course.
What gangs?
What else? The gangs that like board his ship.
Right.
The raid guys are featured and not ever utilized in that.
Yep.
They just get used as like fodder for some alien
CG Spaceball.
They get used for a J.J. Abrams scene.
That's right.
Like the you have to do it J.J. Abrams scene. We're like, look, something is happening, and it's like a big Rube Goldberg machine.
That's really funny because he does that.
He does in every movie. Yes.
Yeah.